All right, fellow fact checkers. Now, before we start the show, I want to remind you to head over and check out our great sponsor, Fox and Son Coffee. They've got an amazing deal with all kinds of blends going on. So head over there and check it out. You can get the Mexican honey prep, the Brazilian honey prep, the Guatemalan, the Ethiopian. They'll be adding new roasts regularly. So be sure to check in and see what new flavors Steve has got over at Fox and Sons Coffee. They've also got all of your usual favorites, the Den Blend Dark, the Den Blend Light, and the one that we personally like around the house since we can't seem to agree on which of the light or the dark is better for both me and the wife, the Den Blend 2 Electric Boogaloo, which is the medium roast. So be sure to use the checkout code FCT for Fact Check This at checkout, and that'll get you an 18% discount on any order of $25 or more. Also, any order of $37.99 or more get you free shipping. Load up on all the greatest coffee on the market, and you can thank me later. Well, let's start the show.
This episode will be completely taken out of context. Welcome to the Fact Check This podcast.
All right, Fact Check This podcast, and today I'm going to talk about a couple different articles. And I'm willing to bet that you did not see this coming. They're already, literally day one, at his inaugurational address, making comparisons to Trump and Hitler. So let's just dive right in, because there's two articles that we're going to talk about in relation to this. So let's jump into the first one. This is from the Harvard Political Review. Trump's rhetoric echoes Hitler. I love the way this starts. I mean, holy fuck! Like, we already knew, but I mean, because the author's name is Alexandra Fearman, so like we already knew, but the way this starts is just: as a descendant of Ashkenazi Jewish immigrants who thankfully left their home countries of Slovakia, Russia, Ukraine, and Belarus a few decades before Hitler came to power, it brings me great anxiety and sadness to be making a comparison between the next president of the United States and a man who most certainly would have slaughtered my ancestors if given the chance. Where do we even start unpacking that insane bullshit? You are taking the Holocaust guilt path when your family left decades before World War II ever happened. This is like, oh my fucking God. Like, this is how we start this fucking article. So you already know from paragraph number one that this is complete and total just dog shit. But I digress. We got a lot to read through here. Not a whole lot, really. But there's two articles that I want to cover. So Trump's rhetoric echoes the racism and dehumanization present in the rhetoric of Adolf Hitler. His language is uncharacteristic of a politician governing on behalf of all Americans, irrespective of race, ethnicity, or citizenship status. Well, here's the thing. All Americans is respective of citizenship status. If you are not an American citizen, then he doesn't have any reason to speak to you otherwise. It is the kind of talk expected from a totalitarian dictator. Lord, bring the day. In 2023, Trump argued at least 4 times that immigrants were poisoning the blood of the United States. Hitler, in his book Mein Kampf, claimed that all great cultures of the past perished only because the originally creative race died out from blood poisoning. Okay, are either of them wrong, is the number one question. While this is the most striking parallel between the rhetoric used by Trump and Hitler, it is far from the only similarity. From the start of his first campaign, Trump has consistently used xenophobic rhetoric to target immigrants and minority identity groups. In his 2015 announcement speech, he described Mexican immigrants as rapists bringing drugs and crime to the U.S. in 2020. To the U.S. In 2020, as the President of the United States, Trump repeatedly referred to the COVID-19 pandemic as the China virus. Okay, again, I'm going to ask, where is he wrong? As scholar Jennifer Zhang explains, the number of Chinese and other Asian hate crimes grew exponentially after Trump's use of the term. Where are the statistics to back that? Just because you say it doesn't make it fucking true. Kind of like the thing that she was referencing in the first paragraph. Just because you think that it happened and you say that it happened, that doesn't make it true. Where's the statistical backing? In fact, the statistics show that that thing probably wasn't very likely. It would have been a statistical improbability, if not entirely impossibility. But nonetheless, throughout his 2024 campaign, Trump targeted immigrants with an even greater intensity. He referred to undocumented immigrants as animals and insisted they're not humans. He falsely accused Haitian immigrants of destroying Springfield, Ohio residents' way of life and eating the pets of the people that live there, except that the woman in question literally went to jail because she was found guilty of eating people's fucking pets. As Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison posted on X, Trump's false claim that Haitian immigrants were eating pets was a racist lie designed to dehumanize Haitian immigrants as savages. Except that there were literally videos of them going through parks, rounding up geese in the public ponds. There were videos of that chick eating somebody's fucking cat, and she went to jail for it. It was happening. Just because you keep saying that it didn't happen doesn't mean that it didn't happen. We fucking watched it. Like, literally watched this chick eat this fucking cat. Trump even charged his opponent, Vice President Kamala Harris, with bringing illegal gang members and migrant criminals into your community to prey upon innocent American citizens. Kamala Harris was in charge of the border policy for the Biden administration and did jack fucking shit to prevent all of the criminals who are currently here from coming. In fact, early on, they were encouraging them to come, and then they changed their tune and said, "We're full, don't come." But it was too late then. Trump has deliberately adopted the tactics used by Hitler throughout his rise to power. Hitler portrayed Jews as a subhuman race, aiming to poison the pure blood of the Aryan race. That's not it. To support his pseudoscience, he claimed that Jews were raping Aryan females and importing black people into Germany, kind of like they did with the United States and have been doing across the rest of Europe since then. Like Trump, Hitler built his following by validating the fears of his supporters and casting blame for poor societal conditions on a perceived outgroup. Both Trump and Hitler appeal to the fears of rising radical ethnic and cultural diversity to portray vulnerable groups as unworthy of belonging to the body politic and warranting elimination. If by elimination you mean rounding them all up and sending them back to wherever the fuck they came from, then sure, yeah. Indeed, in his 1939 Reichstag speech, Hitler advocated for the annihilation of the Jewish race in Europe. I don't believe that's what he actually said, but anyway. Trump, although he has not called for a state-sponsored genocide of immigrants and members of minority identity groups, has conveyed that immigrants, regardless of their legal status, are unworthy of belonging to the American body politic. That's, again, also categorically untrue. Regardless of their legal status, meaning, are they here illegally or are they here as refugees? And both should be looked at. Now, people who actually immigrate here and take the steps necessary to gain U.S. citizenship, he hasn't been talking about those at all. He's talking about the ones who are here through the effectively just the wide open border refugee program and the ones who are here illegally. because they know that there are millions upon millions of them here illegally, and they won't do anything about it. That's been the problem with this previous administration. During the 2024 campaign, Trump told the American public that the Republican platform promises to launch the largest deportation operation in the history of our country. And people voted for that. So maybe whatever chick's name was, Alexandra Fearman, maybe people want to get all of the illegals out of here. Although Trump may be known for his hardline views toward undocumented immigrants, his racist portrayal of the Springfield's Haitian migrant as pet eaters shows that he perceives legal immigrants as similarly illegitimate. These are not legal immigrants. These are asylum seekers. Again, very different. As the official website for the city of Springfield explains, the Haitian immigrants Trump viciously ridiculed throughout the 2024 campaign are the United States legally under the Immigration Parole Program and are eligible to apply for temporary protected status. Again, all of this means that they are not legal U.S. citizens. What this shows is that Trump's antagonistic views towards immigrants have nothing to do with status. Like Hitler, Trump understands citizenship as solely a matter of racial birthright. That is also categorically untrue. Have you seen his new birthright stipulations for citizenship that were put forth under one of the executive orders that came out on Tuesday? What it does is it effectively establishes that you have to either be so the immigrant parent has to be here legally. They don't have to be a U.S. citizen, but they have to be here legally. And also, the other parent has to be a U.S. citizen. So no, like, two illegal immigrants come to the U.S. and then have an anchor and drop an anchor baby, and now everybody gets to stay. Like, one parent has to be a citizen, and the other parent has to be here legally. Otherwise, you all get to be deported together. Tom Homan gets to ship the whole fucking family back, as it should be. That's what birthright citizenship is under Trump, not a racial thing. A legal matter. Another parallel between Trump and Hitler's rhetoric is the portrayal of immigrants as threatening a homogeneous nation's traditional way of life. Hitler, in arguing against Jews holding leading positions in the state, claimed that above all, German culture is German and not Jewish. This is a portrayal of Jews as existing outside of German culture, except that Jews did exist outside of German culture in a lot of ways, and a lot of the things that they brought to German culture at the time were counter to what German culture had been up to that point. Just look into Weimar for all you need to know. This is a portrayal of Jews as existing outside of German culture and actively threatening it by their existence. Similarly, Trump has repeatedly questioned the legitimacy of non-white leaders, casting them as un-American. In 2011, Trump told NBC's Today that he had real doubts that President Barack Obama, the first African-American the first African-American to serve as president, was born in the United States. Even after the release of President Obama's birth certificate, which confirmed that he was born in Hawaii, Trump continued to dispute Obama's citizenship. In 2012, Trump posted on Twitter that an extremely credible source told him that Obama's birth certificate was a fraud. This is what makes Trump literally Hitler, is because of the thing from 12 years ago where he was on the Obama birther kick. That's literally Hitler right there. Obama birther kick is literally Hitler. During his 2024 campaign, Trump said a Latino outreach campaign event at in Miami that Vice President Kamala Harris, the first woman of color to serve as both vice president and lead a majority party ticket, was the worst, slow, and possessed a low IQ. Trump also falsely suggested that Harris misled voters about her race. How is she
was Indian when it suited her to be Indian, and she was black when it suited her to be black. How is that not considered misleading? Or okay, if it's not misleading, it's at the very least disingenuous. So, how about that? During his appearance before the National Association of Black Journalists in Chicago, Trump falsely claimed that Harris, who was both Jamaican and Indian descent, had only identified with her South Asian heritage prior to entering national politics. Trump said, "I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?" That is like fucking hilarious and an incredible line. Also, if you look at Trump's appearance with the National Association of Black Journalists, they were insanely hostile toward him, and he still had a decent conversation with them even after they him-hawed around. They started 30 minutes late. They were aggressive and like asked him very like pointed questions. Kamala Harris, on the other hand, got fucking softballs lobbed to her, and they still, like, at the end of the interview, all three of those journalists that were interviewing Kamala Harris looked at each other, and like the look on their face was like, holy fucking shit, is this really the best that they've got to offer? Like, we are so fucked. Like, you could, the looks on their faces. So yeah, let's bring up the Black Journalist Association when let's see. Perhaps the most disturbing parallel between the rhetoric of Trump and Hitler is the use of dehumanization, specifically likening the outgroups they target to non-human organisms. For example, Hitler claimed that the Jew has never been a nomad, but always a parasite, battening on the substance of others. A parasite, such as a flea, is an organism that thrives at the expense of its host. Hitler is describing Jews as parasites, portrayed them as not only threatening, but as non-human organisms. Trump, in referring to undocumented immigrants as animals and insisting they're not humans, and in accusing Haitian immigrants of eating pets, has portrayed immigrants and members of minority identity groups as non-human, calling us deplorables and every other name under the sun for the last 10 years is not dehumanizing, though, right? Fuck you, bitch. Not only did he explicitly state in a speech in Michigan that undocumented immigrants suspected of crimes are not humans, but he has furthermore utilized racist stereotypes of people of color as being pet eaters in order to portray Haitian immigrants as wild animals. That is the behavior of wild animals. That is the behavior of people without culture, without civility. And without those things, you are subhuman. I am sorry. Trump has also utilized dehumanizing rhetoric to attack his domestic opponents and critics, calling them vermin. Yes, that's what he's doing when he calls journalists vermin. He's just trying to dehumanize them, like Hitler. He's being like Hitler. He's dehumanizing. His use of that term is particularly historically loaded. And historian Ruth Ben-Ghiat said. As historian Ruth Ben-Ghiat said in an email to the Washington Post, dictators Hitler and Benito Mussolini used the term vermin to dehumanize people and encourage their followers to engage in violence. Yes, nobody in the history of language has ever referred to people as vermin outside of Hitler, Mussolini, and Donald Trump. You can look that up. Never has anyone else ever called anybody vermin other than Hitler, Mussolini, and Trump. The dehumanization parallel between Trump and Hitler should be seen as the most disturbing, as such dehumanization can be not only used to justify actions, but also to breed more dehumanization. Hitler and the Nazis used dehumanization to justify the murder of Jews in concentration camps, but they did not stop there. The camps themselves functioned as mechanisms of dehumanization, as Jews were tattooed with serial numbers so they could be identified in place of their names, were forced to surrender their clothes and belongings, and were made to endure being stripped naked and shaved. Trump, when asked whether he would build detention camps as part of the mass deportation of immigrants, has said, "I would not rule out anything. My question is whether anything includes the translation of his dehumanizing rhetoric into acts that violate basic human rights." Oh, you mean the way that the Gulag was violating the basic human rights of the J6 protesters who have been held there for no reason and who now they're refusing to release after they've been pardoned. That kind of dehumanizing violation of basic human rights. Is that what we're talking about? No, y'all don't want to talk about that as long as it's not being done to your enemies. And the thing is, these immigrants, they are not your allies. They are here to rape and pillage American culture. That's what they're here for. Sorry. Like, of course it's a fucking Jew that writes this. That is what they have done for all of history, is destroy culture and destroy civilization. Like, to preserve their own, obviously. You don't see there's no immigrants being taken into Israel, right? While it may seem unrealistic that Trump would allow immigrants to be subjected to the acts of dehumanization inflicted by the Nazis on the Jewish people, his statement is carefully designed to leave the door open for any future acts he deems necessary. Trump doesn't even have to build the cages because the Obama administration already built them. Furthermore, Trump has already shown his capacity to subject immigrants to dehumanization, as indicated by the disturbing images of detained migrant children in cages during his first term. Except that half the images, I think it was more than half the images that they showed of these poor detained migrant children in cages during his first term were actually children in cages during Obama's administration. They just recycled the pictures and said, oh my God, look how terrible Trump is. Like, Mayorkas was literally the guy in charge of building the fucking cages, but nobody cares about that. Nobody talks about how dehumanizing fucking Alejandro Mayorkas was. Nobody talks about what a dehumanizing Obama was to have built the cages to begin with. Yeah, fuckers. The parallels between the rhetoric used by Trump and Hitler reveal that Trump is unfit to serve as president of a nation founded upon the celebration of racial, ethnic, and cultural heterogeneity. That's objectively untrue. That's not what the nation was founded on. It is unacceptable for a leader of liberal democracy to utilize such rhetoric, regardless of whether that leader truly intends to translate words into action. Thank God we don't live in a liberal democracy. We live in a people's republic. So get the fuck out, you dumb cunt. Trump, based on his rhetoric, should be understood as American democracy's next potential destroyer and not its next defender. Good. Democracy needs to be destroyed. It was not the intent of the founding fathers at any point for this to become a democracy. Thank you. His rhetoric should not be dismissed as words that cannot be translated into action, but must be regarded as the same mechanisms that justified the racism and dehumanization of Hitler's Germany. Everything is Hitler, or Trump is always Hitler, and Republicans are always Nazis. How have y'all not gotten tired of saying this same dumb fucking just used up bullshit over and fucking over again? This shit is embarrassing. You should be fucking embarrassed to have written this. We as a global community, we're not a global community. Fuck you and fuck that. Fuck the idea of a global community. That is not what America is. So fuck off with that bullshit. We as a global community must become aware of the similarities between the next American president and one of history's most oppressive dictators to prevent ourselves from falling complicit in the evisceration of liberal democracy. Oh my God. Can we eviscerate liberal democracy once and for fucking all? That, like, Lord, bring the day. Everything that these psychopath morons think that Trump is going to be, say that Trump is going to be, I hope he's all of that and so much worse. But then, of course, Trump doesn't want to be portrayed that way. Trump is always very self-conscious of his image and of the way he's being talked about and things people are saying about him, so on and so forth. And so that's where we get the second article for today. From the Associated Press, Trump says he didn't know his immigration rhetoric echoes Hitler. And then the AP says that's part of a broader pattern. Donald Trump has centered his unlikely rise from reality television star to one-time and potentially future president, and this is from a while ago. So, president, on the idea that he's wiser than Washington's bumbling political class, once going so far as to label himself a very stable genius. But when it comes to one of history's darkest moments, Trump is professing ignorance, facing criticism for repeatedly harnessing rhetoric once used by Adolf Hitler to argue that immigrants entering the U.S. illegally are poisoning the blood of our country. Trump insists he had no idea that one of the world's most reviled and infamous figures once used similar words. The Nazi dictator spoke of impure Jewish blood poisoning Aryan German blood to dehumanize Jews and justify the systemic murder of millions during the Holocaust. I never knew that Hitler said it, Trump told conservative radio host Hugh Hewlett on Friday, volunteering once again that he never read Hitler's biographical manifesto, Mein Kampf. Okay. I said this about Project 2025, and I'm going to say this about Mein Kampf. Trump is the same guy that would have somebody give him somebody speak to him, tell him the Cliff Notes version of his daily briefings every day when he was president. He wouldn't even read the daily briefing of these are the things. He wanted somebody to tell him in shorthand what the briefing said. Do you think this motherfucker read 900 pages of Project 2025? Do you think he read Mein Kampf? No. Trump just goes off the cuff. Whatever he thinks sounds good, that's what he's going to say. Whatever he thinks will get a rise, that's what he's going to say. Whatever he thinks will speak to his base, that's what he's going to say. He didn't know that it was in Mein Kampf, nor does he give a fuck. Nor should he give a fuck. I know nothing about Hitler, he insisted. I have no idea what Hitler said other than what I've seen on the news. And that's a very entirely different thing than what I'm saying. Trump's assertion that he knows so little about one of the 20th century's most documented figures is notable for someone seeking the presidency, a role steeped in and shaped by history. But claiming ignorance, particularly when it comes to people who espouse racist and anti-Semitic rhetoric, is a tactic Trump has repeatedly deployed when aiming to distance himself from uncomfortable storylines. After he was endorsed by former Ku Klux Klan Grand Wizard David Duke during his winning 2016 campaign, Trump insisted he had no knowledge of the white supremacist who had run for office numerous times and is described by the Anti-Defamation League as perhaps America's most well-known racist and anti-Semite. Interestingly enough, David Duke then went on to support Joe Biden in 2020, and even more interestingly, I can't remember if it was Richard Spencer, not Duke, who endorsed both Biden in 2020 and Kamala Harris in 2024. Why do the actual white supremacists endorse the Democratic Party? Because they have specifically said that social programs pushed by the Democratic Party keep minorities down. The KKK and other white supremacist groups don't even have to do anything. All they have to do is let them get on these welfare programs and let them just middle in effectively like doing nothing. They're never going to grow. They're never going to get out of the ghettos and the slums that they live in because of Democrat policy. So yeah, vote for and support Democrats because Democrats are going to hold black people down better than the KKK ever could have hoped to. Like, you don't have to burn their houses when they go move into white neighborhoods if they never leave their fucking ghetto. That's save money on gasoline and matches. Just so you understand, I don't know anything about David Duke. He told CNN's Jake Tapper in February of 2016, I don't know anything about what you're even talking about with white supremacy or white supremacists. Asked if he would condemn the white supremacists supporting him, Trump said he would have to look at the group. I mean, I don't know what you're talking about. He continued to repeat that assertion even after Tapper said he was referring to the KKK. And again, that's like, is that the entire KKK? That's just one guy? Like, what are you talking about? Like, Trump has also pleaded ignorance in other cases. As he ran for re-election in 2020, Trump said he didn't know much about QAnon. Nobody knows much about QAnon. QAnon doesn't even know much about QAnon. The convoluted conspiracy that alleges Democrats are involved in a satanic pedophilia ring and cast Trump as the nation's savior. Well, Democrats are definitely running some satanic pedophile rings, but that's neither here nor there. Even as he retweeted accounts promoting the conspiracy. like motherfucking Trump looks at what he's like, looks at the account. See, what they talk about is he retweets stuff that he thinks will get a rise. He doesn't look at who posted it. He doesn't look at what else they posted. He just sees something that he thinks is going to get a rise or going to out of one side or the other, and that's what he does. I know nothing about it, he said during an NBC town hall. Nonetheless, he refused to rule it out as false. I don't know that, and neither do you, he said. It was the same when Trump was asked to condemn the Proud Boys militia group, which was key in organizing the assault on the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021. Also objectively untrue. Enrique Tarrio and other members of the far-right extremist group have been found guilty of seditious conspiracy and other crimes for their part in the attack. Interestingly enough, Enrique Tarrio wasn't even in fucking Washington, D.C., and he got 27 years for not even... He got 27 years for his part in J6 for not even fucking being in Washington, D.C. on the day of. Like, that's how the justice system has been just bastardized by the Democrats. And other crimes for their part in the attack, which was part of a desperate bid to keep Trump in power after he lost the 2020 election to Joe Biden. I don't know who the Proud Boys are, Trump told reporters after instructing the group during a presidential debate to stand back and stand by. I mean, you'll have to give me a definition because I don't really know who they are, Trump said of the group, which was drawing headlines at the time. Trump has also suggested he was unaware of some of the most consequential periods of American history. At a recent rally in Reno, Nevada, Trump said he had to ask Texas Governor Greg Abbott to define the post-Civil War era known as Reconstruction, as he boasted about his growing popularity with Hispanic voters and Republican wins along the border. They say the first time since Reconstruction. You know what Reconstruction means? That means the Civil War, Trump told the audience. I said, give me a definition, Governor, of Reconstruction. You said I'm the first one to win all of these towns since Reconstruction. He said, well, Reconstruction since the Civil War. That's a long time ago. That's pretty good. Trump campaign spokesman Stephen Chung said Trump has been very clear that he's talking about criminals and terrorists who have crossed the border under Joe Biden's watch when he says when he's back in the White House, the United States will return to a secure border and a system that places the safety and security of Americans first. The former president's claims about Hitler are particularly notable given his upbringing in New York, home of the nation's largest one of the nation's largest Jewish populations. Trump has also participated in Holocaust memorial events. He spoke at a ceremony at the U.S. Capitol hosted by the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum in 2017, where he denounced Holocaust deniers as accomplices to horrible evil. And he paid a brief visit to Yad Vashem, Israel's National Holocaust Memorial, where he called the Nazi extermination of 6 million Jews the most savage crime against God and his children. Trump's insistence that he has not read Mein Kampf, an assertion that he also made at an Iowa rally last week, evoked a different Hitler book he once allegedly had in his possession. Journalist Marie Brenner reported in Vanity Fair magazine in 1990 that Trump's ex-wife, Ivana Trump, told her lawyer that from time to time, her husband reads a book of Hitler's collected speeches, My New Order, which he kept in a cabinet by his bed. Okay, number one, how many leftists have read Mein Kampf? I would be willing to put it at 0, and the only reason that they know that any of Trump's language is similar to language used in Mein Kampf is because some fucking nerd told them so, without any context to what anything actually says in Mein Kampf. Also, the New World Order thing is just a collection of speeches, and most of them are like rousing, like let's go get shit done kind of speeches. So, like this is not like My New Order is not like a collection of Hitler giving instructions on how to build the incinerators or like where to start the numbering for the tattoos in the camps and stuff. Like it's just inspirational, or it's like yeah, I mean inspirational might be the best word. Like rallying cry type speeches. Trump told Brenner that it was my friend Marty Davis from Paramount who gave me a copy of Mein Kampf, and he's a Jew. Davis confirmed to Brenner that he indeed had given Trump a book about Hitler, but it was My New Order. a collection of Hitler's speeches. I thought he would find it interesting, Davis said, adding, I am his friend, but I'm not Jewish. Later, Trump returned to this subject. Brenner wrote, if I had these speeches, and I am not saying that I do, I would never read them. Knowing basic American history is important for a president, said Princeton University professor Julian Zelizer. What do you want to bet his allegiances are, who studied political history? We don't need a historian as a president, but certainly you want a president with a feel for some of the basic parts of American history, of world history, he said, noting, for instance, that Reconstruction was a formative moment in civil rights and race relations. The follow-up to the War of Northern Aggression, when the North then came in and just fucking destroyed everything. Yeah, let's talk about Reconstruction. In Mein Kampf, Hitler wrote, all great cultures of the past perished only because the originally creative race died out from blood poisoning. Trump told Hewitt his message was very different and he had zero racist intent. I'm not a student of Hitler. I never read his works, he said. They say that he said something about blood. He didn't say it the way I said it either, by the way. It's a very different kind of statement. What I'm saying when I talk about people coming into our country is that they are destroying our country. Still, he repeated poisoning references 8 times. Amongst those references, they are poisoning our country. They are poisoning the blood of our country. They're coming from all over the world. They're coming from prisons. They're coming from mental institutions and insane asylums. They're terrorists. Absolutely, that's poisoning our country. That's poisoning the blood of our country. That's what's happening. That is not inaccurate. And now he's doing something about it. All of this Trump is Hitler rhetoric has gotten old and it's gotten tired. And I think personally, it plays a significant role in why the left lost. So keep it up, because it just turns people off to you more and more and makes people think you really are fucking insane. You don't have anything of substance to say. You don't have anything to offer. All you can do is call Trump Hitler. You think that if you keep calling him Hitler, people are going to hate him. He already won. You can fucking stop. Time to move on. Figure out what the fuck you're going to do to actually make steps towards convincing people that you do want to protect American citizens, that you do want to be for the middle class and the lower class and the working class, that you do actually give a fuck about our country and not about exclusively taking care of the UN, NATO, the World Health Organization, Ukraine, Taiwan, literally everywhere except for the United States of fucking America. Until you can do that, shut the fuck up with this Trump is Hitler and all of that bullshit. That's all I got. I can't believe that they're still writing these fucking articles. And the thing is, for the next 4 years, they're going to continue to write these articles. And after Trump is gone and no longer even thought of in the political scene, they're still going to write these articles. They're going to compare him to Trump, or they're going to compare Trump to Hitler until every one of these miserable motherfuckers either dies or loses their job. And after they lose their job, they'll start a Substack and they'll keep writing it because they don't have anything of substance to offer the world outside of this. That is the pathetic excuse for journalism that the left is pumping out. I love it. I fucking love it. I could read these articles and laugh my ass off and get pissed off all day long, every day. But not today. That's enough of this. Be sure to tune in for the dailies. Today's daily, if you missed it, covers an interesting little thing about like some parenting advice, and it's a really short article about parenting advice, but it's more of a springboard into stuff that I want to talk about anyway. So that was really cool. And then I can't remember what tomorrow's is. Shit. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Tomorrow is tomorrow. We'll talk about something then. You can check me, or you can catch me every day, every morning around 9:30-ish. Sometimes I start early and do 8:30 if I'm able, especially on days that I work. That allows me to get to bed at a more reasonable hour and get some sleep. But so between 8:30 and 9:30, a.m. Central Time is when I start the dailies. They go anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes, talking about just different news and topics. You can find that on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, or Twitter. And also, I'll keep doing these. I am tentatively planning to be joined by Don the Pleb next Tuesday night. We'll do that one live. And if something changes, I've got a backup topic in case something happens and Don can't be on. But as of right now, we're planning to talk about the inauguration, the cabinet stuff, the J6 pardons, and everything else. So that'll be next Tuesday evening, 8:30 p.m. Central. And that's all I got. I will see you then, if not before. Later.
Before you go, make sure you check out our great sponsor, Agorist Acres. Now, AgoristAcres.com, you can find over 100 varieties of seeds. They've got vegetables, flowers, all kinds of stuff. They've got heritage brands, everything that you want to start any kind of garden that you need. It's free shipping on any order of $20 or more. They've got cool packaging, and most of the seeds come in a fancy glass vial, no paper envelopes. They accept US dollars and crypto and can easily take either at checkout. Now be sure to head over to agoristacres.com, and anything that you get, use the promo code FCT at checkout for 10% off your order. I say all the time that you need to be starting your own garden, you need to be growing your own food, you need to be getting off the grid and becoming less dependent on grocery stores and stuff like that. Agorist Acres is a great first start. They have got everything you need for whatever kind of garden you want. Great people, great product. Highly recommend. So go check them out.